Well, I'm going to call this meeting to order. The General Operations Committee at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, April the 7th, 2025. Mr. Holmes, would you mind saying the invocation for us?
Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the sunshine that gives us a renewed spirit after all the dreary and rain and tornadoes. And thank you for protecting Sumner County for that. And it could have been much worse, but thank you for protecting us. Lord, help us to focus on you, give you the glory for all that we do. Help us to be good stewards of the taxpayer money tonight and make the best decisions that we can for the citizens of Sumner County. It's in your name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, do I have a motion for approval of agenda?
Second
by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Genome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of minutes. Have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Genome. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Recognition of the public. All right. I have a good amount of people on the list. I call your name. Would you please come up and stand right here and state your name and address for the record, please? This is Miss Kathy Harlan. Mr. Kathy Harlan? Is that a different meeting? I don't know, just sitting here, so. Oh, okay, never mind. It's a half animal control. All right. Jim Latimer.
That's one we know.
Jim Latimer, 1578 Latimer Lane, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Thank y'all for having us here tonight, letting us speak. It looks very nice to see the sunlight coming in through the windows when we're here. We're used to coming in dark and leaving in dark, so it's a little bit brighter spirit tonight. Just want to thank everybody that's worked toward getting the money released for the house and all the efforts you put into it. I think if we can get moving forward on this and get this house preserved, that this could really be a historical gem of the Sumner County community. There's a lot of stuff that can be done over there. It's a frontier house. It goes a lot of history back to Sumner County and the people that came here. So I encourage us to work as hard as we can to get this house preserved and make it the landmark that it deserves to be. And thank y'all. All right, thank you.
All right. That's okay. Mr. Blanton, Judge Blanton, you're next.
I'm Ron Blanton. I'm at 155 East Main Street, Gallatin. I'm here. On your agenda tonight is discussion about recovery court and relocating. Originally, we met last month with a joint committee with the opioid and general ops meeting. We were to be in front of the opioid abatement committee last week. That meeting got canceled. So I'm not sure whether you all are going to hear anything about that tonight. I'm here to answer any questions that you've got regarding the presentation I made the last time that you all made a joint session. I don't know if this is premature without coming out of the opioid abatement committee first, but I wanted to make myself available in case you had questions. If you're not going to have further discussion about this matter tonight, it's going to be tabled until after the next opioid abatement committee. I would appreciate knowing that earlier instead of later. As I have twin grandbabies staying at my house, sleep is a premium. So, if you could let me know, and again, I'm here to answer any questions, follow up from that you may have come up with since the last meeting. And I know Chairman Mansfield wasn't there, but he's been provided with a copy, and I went through that and answered any questions that people may have had about the need for that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory in the handout that I presented last time that you had a chance, I'm sure, to read. So I just wanted to thank you all for your attention, for letting us meet as a joint committee and make our presentations along with the Prevention Coalition. But I wanted to let you know I didn't know if it would go forward tonight or not. And that's the reason why I'm here, just in case you had questions. All right, thank you.
All right, next up is Mr. Mike Gorham.
My name is Mike Gorham. I reside at 1116 Parker Chapel Road in Portland, but I'm actually here on behalf of my work, which is at 1246 Louisville Highway in Millersville, Tennessee, where I'm the city manager. I'm here to speak about the proposed work at Millersville Fire Station number 2. The work that's proposed for the EMS housing. I've seen 2 plans for that. One of them involves taking 2 living spaces that are part of the current fire station. And the city is not interested in supporting that because of the fact that we have a lot of growth in that area. And we are in the very near future going to have to use that space for firefighters, 24/7 firefighters. Probably in the next year or 2, we're going to have people there that are on the firefighting team. And we're going to need that space. We've had a good partnership with EMS, with Sumner County, through the years, having EMS up there. We're grateful to have them. We'd love to have that partnership continue there. But the fire station is something we're going to need for firefighters. So we'd like for you to consider looking at something other than taking the space that we have there in the fire station, because we are going to need it. Thank you.
All right, next up, Jerica Mayo.
Hello, my name is Jerica Mayo, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Sumner Prevention Coalition. I'm also the state school supervisor for Sumner County Schools. As a certified prevention specialist with the state of Tennessee, I have seen firsthand the transformative power of education in preventing substance misuse, not just among our youth, but across entire families. As a grant-funded organization supported by the tireless efforts of volunteers, we know the power of every single dollar. And while it's impossible to assign a dollar value to a life saved or a future change, we know that the impact of this work is immeasurable. The building on Winchester represents more than just brick and mortar. It's a space for connection, for collaboration, and for hope. It will allow us to unite with other agencies, extend our reach, and touch more lives than ever before. To truly move the needle, we must be bold in our vision. We must dream bigger, reach farther, and continue pushing forward, because our community is worth it. We're deeply committed to the mission of the Sumner Prevention Coalition and welcome any opportunity for partnerships so we could work towards or together to build a brighter, stronger, healthier future for all.
All right, and last is Miss Ashley Freeman.
My name is Ashley Freeman. I'm at 233 Sunset Boulevard in Gallatin. I'm a native Gallatin resident and a current board member for the Prevention Coalition. Prevention initiatives, especially for substance-related issues, are extremely important to me personally and also to our community. Recently, the Prevention Coalition made an offer to purchase the property at 117 East Winchester, hopeful to acquire it for a number of positive reasons. Owning this property will provide opportunities for much-needed office and planning space, as well as classroom and meeting space for prevention programs and the community. Our original offer on the property was made in good faith with regard to the tax assessment at the time of the offer. Please know that we are not asking to receive the building for free. However, with recent grant cuts and a growing need for prevention programs and resources, all dollars spent on the property for purchase or maintenance means fewer dollars for prevention programs and resources. I'm asking you to consider the importance of our work and purpose, and also our desire to use available money to implement prevention and awareness programs in Gallatin and Sumner County, ultimately helping us work together to continue our efforts. Thank you.
All right, who's public comment?
Mr. Chairman, I think he's speaking.
Oh, Mr. McClard, I did. My apologies.
Trying to silence me, I know. If it makes you feel any better, so does Cindy. She did deny it, but I'm here to speak about the Brown House, as you guys know. Hopefully we can, this is moving along. I know the $500,000 had been transferred, and I'd asked the mayor, and he said the interest had also been transferred, so hopefully in his report he can tell us how much of that was. But and Mr. Klein, I think, has gotten Mr. Coker, so down there in the Gator the other day, and somebody had kicked in the side door. I mean, just, it's just an old house, and somebody found a door and they could kick in. They just busted the deadbolt out of the frame. But, I would think one of the first things, probably, once this gets started, is maybe some type of lighting down there, because around those big trees, it's awful dark at night. Plenty of lighting around the schools, but nothing down in there. But, Cindy and I went to, over the weekend, the Bridal House over in Cottontown had their own first opening of the year, and they did a great job over there. I don't know who the people was that did all that, but, they just did a wonderful job. Hopefully someday the Brown House could look like that too. One of the next things that probably needs to be done is there's gonna have to be some type of driveway put into that. So there's a culvert where the driveway was, and it's a pretty steep bank up there. They raised the road up probably 15, 20 feet, so it's gonna be a pretty good bank. I went up at one time in the Gators, scared Cindy to death, and the front end went up and the back end stayed down. But, hopefully we can get all that started here pretty close. So I'm two more things real quickly. One is, it's gonna hurt me to say this, but go Florida over Houston tonight, go SEC. And, secondly, with Easter coming up, if anybody doesn't have a church they go to or want to do something different, Long Haul will be having 3 services on Saturday and 3 services on Sunday. So anybody's welcome. Thank you, guys.
I want to say I'm a volunteer Gator hater, so I can't root for the Gators.
I know it hurt me. It hurt me.
You won't see that up.
Go SEC.
No, just go Tennessee. How about that? All right, now. All right. For the chairman, Mr. Miller could not be here. She has an uncle who's in hospice, and I think you put her thoughts and prayers. And I just want to thank you guys for all that you do, all the hard work you put into everything. We're out there slogging it around in rain, and creeks, and mud, and looking at stuff all throughout the county. So your efforts do not go unappreciated or unnoticed. So thank you, and thank you guys from the finance department for all your hard work on trying to keep us on track with these grants and ARPA projects. I know it's been like hurting caps and he's back of caps, and so definitely appreciate all you guys' hard work. So that's all. End of my report. I just want to thank you guys. For the finance director's office.
So for the archives roof, that project's complete. We're just waiting on the manufacturer inspection. I'm going to reach out to my old work and get the local inspector to come out a little quicker than on their timeline, so we can knock that out. Westmoreland EMS and Oak Grove Fire Department, they're both just waiting on permits. They've been working with the state fire marshal to get all that done, so they're still in that process. But as soon as I get those, they'll start laying the slab for the fire department and start working on the EMS station. I'll skip Franklin Street in the courtroom for the new business for now. We'll just talk about that later. For the water and SWIG stuff, we've got the executed contract amendment. We have a meeting with Westmoreland this week, and right now our subrecipient agreement are sent to our consultant for review. So we hope to get that back, and then we'll get it all situated with Westmoreland and Portland. For the health department, we've got the RFP done. I received the last bit of the plans and specs today. It'll go out for advertisement on Thursday, and May 1st is when our bid opening is. And we'll kind of go from there. I'll kind of hand it off to you for this.
So the health department, we are actually under the gun. We have until June 30th of next year to have a turnkey ready, which means demolition and construction has to occur and be finished at that point in time. Looking at it, and with the bid going out, we're not for sure what price we will get back. The state at one point in time has offered us additional funds. Unfortunately, they have given us funds, but on the downside, if it does come over the budget amount that they have now given us, we would be coming to the county commission and asking for additional funds. We would ask for alternatives to be looked at, but right now there are no alternatives that we can find. But we'll be presenting that to you once we have a clearer picture of what is transpiring on May 1st. Director Line, was looking at other alternatives such as doing rehab work for it or rehabilitating it. If we were to go the renovation route, we don't know if we would have enough time within a year to actually get the work done by doing an RFP, pushing it out there, getting the bids back, and then having it done by June 30th. So there is a time crunch. We are aware of it, and we will keep you abreast of what the next steps will be.
We'll stop right there, but I need some discussion here on this. I had to have a question, I guess. So, I responded to you an email on this, because we were told that there would be no extra cost to the county. ARPA funds we put in, I think $600-something thousand in ARPA funding. The rest was covered by the state. I mean, we were told that pretty emphatically. Mr. Jones shaking his head. I know in this committee, I don't know if it's in budget, but, so I guess the question is, do you have any anticipation on how much more it might come over, if you're nervous about that, or?
We have no idea at this point in time. It all comes in on the bids.
Well, I guess my question would be, why couldn't the project be rescoped or the architect work on it, that we paid to reduce some features or some square footage on it?
Due to the time frame and having to bid it out, you're looking at it being bid out by May 1st and the award letter being June 1st, demolition occurring from June until September, then from September until June 30th, you would be looking at a build out. So if we were to go back and have the architects try to make changes to it, then we would run a closer and tighter time frame of actually not having a turnkey ready.
So if I remember this correctly, this came through Health Emergency Services and this committee simultaneously to make sure it went through as quick as possible, and it sailed through committee because everybody was okay with the fact that it wasn't going to cost us any more than that amount that was stated. And there would have been a lot more discussion, I'm sure, if it was any chance that it was going to cost more. We were guaranteed that it was not going to cost more than that. The state was going to pick up any overage on that. And it just seems like this is the way that this goes. If you want to get more for something, spend more money, just delay the project. And if it's delayed, it's going to cost more because everything costs more in time. This is not right. The citizens are going to have a fit about this.
Mr. Clyde?
I want to remind the committee we have another option. We're only required to have one health department building in the entire county. This would be 3. We have one in Portland and we have one here in Gallatin. There is the option to can the whole project. Now, we'd be throwing away ARPA money. I understand that. But we do have 2 with another one being built. I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying it's an option.
With that being said, I mean, can we not propose that to the, I may have missed something in your explanation, but can we not propose that to the person bidding the project that we're going to can it if they can't make it come in under this amount of money that we already approved? Make it work, you know, cut wherever you can, make it work. We're not spending any more.
Commissioner Jones?
So before we jump up and go down the rabbit hole, May 1st is the opening of the bid. So we're looking at 20 days to opening the bid. Would it be, so I'm asking, could we not wait till after the bids are open to see what the amounts that are coming in and then do a negotiation from there? Because right now you're kind of going on if and but maybe. And I think if we have more clear idea of what the contractor's going to bid, then we'll have an idea of what, it may come under budget. We don't know that, but it's to nip it right now, I think that would be a disservice. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Just to let you know, we'll go through this in 3 parts. To address the bid process right now, besides just us putting it into the newspaper, the state will also be advertising it, and the architectural firm will be also advertising it on different sites as well. So hopefully we'll be getting more bids than what we normally get. Number two, in regards to scrapping it, just so you all are aware, right now we have spent roughly $357,000 in ARPA funds, revenue replacement. So if you do scrap it, we would incur that cost. There's no way to bill the state for it. So that would fall under our ARPA. And to address the potential of where the state funding came from, and hopefully it would have covered it all, based upon conversations with the state, they were hoping that with other projects that would have come in over budget, they would be, or under budget, they would be able to give additional funds to the counties. But this one being one of the later projects that have occurred in the state, unfortunately, the majority of those funds have all dried up, so there's not any funds at this time.
Commissioner Jones.
Perhaps the mayor may be able to speak more to this to help us understand, because I think that's where it came from, that it was gonna be covered by the state. That was the proposition made when we were trying to indicate whether or not we were going to fix the old building or renovate the old building or build a new building. Before I go back and pull video to refresh my memory on that, he may be able to add to that. Can we ask him to speak to that, where that came from, that the state was supposed to pay for all of that? Anything over?
We know that they said they were going to pay for the balance.
Yeah, but he's saying that they had hoped to, Dustin's saying that they had hoped to pay for it. That's not what was stated in the committee when we voted through this process. It was they're going to pay for it. Not that they hoped to. I don't think it was a sale through committee on a hope. It was a guarantee that they were going to pay for it. That's why it went through committee. That's why we're in this position.
So
I'm just asking.
what's your question again?
I want to know if the mayor can speak to some of this to correct the record or explain to us what his understanding was, and if he was told wrong also. Who was he told wrong by? The proposal came from the mayor's position, so I think we need to hold whoever told him that accountable.
Mr. Mayor, do you have anything to add to this, or?
This is the first I'm hearing of it. What I was told when this project was under my office is that they were gonna fund any excess. I don't know what they're doing now. It's under finances, authority. It's not under my authority anymore, so I really don't know what they're doing with it now.
Can we ask who told him that? Okay. Who told you that it would be?
So you're looking to our liaison with the mental health department that is actually funding the state funds for it. And so they're the ones that have put it in writing, there are no more state dollars for this project.
So it never was in writing that they were going to cover it?
Not that I can find.
Commissioner Clark.
I know, and if you wanted him to speak to it, he's here, but Hal Hendricks probably knows more about the idiosyncrasies of the actual plans, and I think they have beat this thing to death on the value engineering point. I don't know if there's any more money they can cut out of it. Yeah, I make a motion to suspend the rules for Mr. Hendricks to speak to this.
I'll make that.
Aye.
Yeah, well, my understanding was the big pot of money statewide was $300 million. You know, we got our little percentage, and whatever was not used statewide, and whatever bid came in short, came in long. Somewhere along the line, that got changed. So, and it never was, I don't know if it was ever in writing or just was shared. So it was my understanding, and I believe we were in here one night with.
On the phone?
Yeah, on the phone. And then I inquired about it a week or two ago, and so it's different.
So this is news to you. Have we done all the value engineering we can? Have we cut I know the architect has been beating himself up trying to cut square footage and cut costs. Do you think there's any room for cutting before we go to bid?
The contractors I've talked to are all looking at about 300 a square foot. And we're able to look at 415, 416, somewhere in there. I think, let's just roll the dice, see what happens.
Okay.
If it comes in 450 and we can't, then we have to sit back, come back, see what we're gonna do. But at this point, what I understood, Dixon County came in $1 million under, Cheatham County has come under $1
There's no action we can take tonight, so, unless anybody has another question for Al. Yeah, I think we'll bring us back to session. Well, we'll just wait to hear what happens, first week of March when we meet again, on this, so we'll keep this on your report, obviously, for May report. Any other questions on that before we move on? Thank you for letting us, take a moment there on that one. All right.
For the Brown House, we did receive the $500,000, and we received $87,232.27 of interest.
Okay.
Just waiting on budget to approve.
We passed it back in March.
Yes, but we pushed it
Yeah.
to do what we need to do, and so it should be going this month to budget, and then once that's done, we'll,
next week, right?
yep, and then we'll start the work for the exploratory stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For the Hendersonville Library, I got all the invoices and everything sent over to the mayor. It's in their, he's forwarding that to their finance committee, and then they'll let me know from there.
Okay, perfect.
So that's went all good. The broadband grant, we started advertising on the 3rd. We're doing our opening on the 21st at 10 a.m. So we'll take that from there. And then the Hollows, they're still doing the utility relocation at this time. I don't have an update of when they believe that all that relocation will be done just yet. Obviously, the storms put them a few days behind as of late.
Commissioner Jones has a question on that, real quick, if you don't mind.
Do we have a timeline on that project yet?
It'll be 9 months after the relocation's done, but they're supposed to be done by April, but with all the storms and stuff going on, they've fallen farther behind.
Is there a project coordinator that you work with, project manager?
Marshall.
For them? Marshall is. Is there, any kind of a Gantt chart or any kind of milestone documentation that we're looking for to let people know?
No, but I
9
can,
months just seems like up in the air, but if there's things looking forward to, I'm sure the citizens would appreciate that.
I'll ask him, have him put something together.
Because I read, I think it was last month, you said all the structures, or maybe you did it in an email, all the structures have been delivered, the prefabricated structures. Is that right?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
I just know that Marshall said that we were supposed to be done by April for the relocation, but they've fallen behind for that.
Okay.
And then it was 9 months after that, but I'll get with Marshall to come up with something.
We're 2 years from when we started this project. It was looking like 3 years before the projected end date of it, and I know that can get pushed too because of weather. And people just don't understand why stuff like this takes so long.
We didn't appropriate the money for this that long ago, did we?
This is one of the first things we did when we came in office.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
3 years ago, almost. Wow. At least 2 years ago.
Two September, so we're, 9 months from now, we'll be 3 years.
Because I remember, didn't we appropriate like $700,000?
$750,000.
And that was for the research, or?
No, that was the whole project.
The whole project.
Whole project.
And it's gonna end up costing more by the time it's done, right?
Well, they had de-scoped it a couple of times, so they don't put it out there, so they actually did that.
I just would like to see a timeline so we can celebrate milestones.
All right, any other questions for Scott on that one?
And that'll be all that I have until we get into new business.
All right, for the county mayor.
Yes, sir. I think it'd probably best if we could talk about, I reserve my comment for when we talk about the Millersville EMS station. That's all I have.
Okay.
So we're just waiting.
So, coming up in a second. All right. Old business, item 8, item for discussion.
Motion to discuss.
Motion by Commissioner Klein. Do you have a second? Second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we did hear from Mr. Shamrock that $500,000 has been received, as well as $87,232.27 in interest from that funding from Vanguard. How was that calculated, I guess? How did you guys come up with that?
I got with finance director, and we just did simple interest year over year.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right, that's good. So we have $187,000 to work with.
On the interest, was that year-over-year interest that was invested?
It was, yeah, the total investment, and then I applied that interest rate to 500,000 to get that amount for each year. So each year I took what that interest return was, applied it to 500,000.
Did Vanguard have a number that they?
Vanguard said they can't calculate it.
They're an investment company.
You need to ask that to Vanguard, not me.
Director Sittler, do you have
I talked to, finance director, and he went through the math, and he said it looked reasonable to him.
I would never use Vanguard.
Any questions on that? So, well, I know there's been a lot of discussion now that we have that. We actually made a motion last month to send a budget. I know it's going this month, because we didn't get it in time, just for that $2,000, I think, for the exploratory, just ripping out, and removing all the subflooring and the wall, paneling and the AC units, so that we can then discover what's there, what's the bones and meat of this, so then that we can then start formulating a plan and come up with options and different pathways we can take. Part of that process, over the past several months, people have been talking about doing ad hoc, citizens involved. I would like to propose naming an ad hoc. I've had several of you come up to me and ask, want to be a part of that, including citizens. So I would like to make a motion to form an ad hoc for this.
Second.
Second for that.
Second.
By Commissioner Klein, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I would, without objection, I feel like I would want to do a mix, mainly of county commissioners, but citizens and even a school board member, and I've reached out to several of these people. But Mr. McClaren has agreed to be on the ad hoc, as well as Mr. Latimer, representing citizens, and
Which Latimer?
Jim Latimer.
Jim.
And school board member Stephen King has agreed to be on the ad hoc as well. And I would like to appoint, I know Commissioner Klein has been involved, myself, Commissioner Jones, and Commissioner Miller has asked to be involved as well. So that would make a 7-member ad hoc. Just to clarify, ad hocs, according to our rules, they do last a year, but that doesn't mean they can't be extended past a year. That was a request from Commissioner Hyde when we first got in office to make sure the ad hocs only lasted a year, so they didn't go in perpetuity behind the scenes and just going on, which was fine. But that does not preclude the fact that an ad hoc can be renewed under the same circumstances. I think there was some discussion previously saying they had an ad hoc, once it was over, you couldn't do it the same. That's just false and not correct. It's not what our rules say and anything like that. So this will be an ad hoc, I guess, would need to be renewed in April of 2026 as far as the members. The question is, Eric has something to say too.
He may be getting ready to say what I'm going to ask. I just wanted clarification from our law director, so it's crystal clear on what you just said, that he reaffirms that about the ad hocs. Is that what you were getting ready to interject?
Well, I was actually going to interject that we need some specific direction for this ad hoc. So if this is the time you want to indicate what it is this ad hoc is being formed to do.
So this ad hoc is for the purpose of basically taking the information that we get and researching and finding options and plans as far as what the family members would like to see happen with their property, their inheritance basically, and kind of directions of what can be done to renovate and basically bring those options back to this committee. So we're not here discussing it every month as we have been for quite a while. And so that would be the purpose of the ad hoc, is do the groundwork, give us options of A, B, or C. This is the path we can go here, here's the cost associated with it, and do all the exploratory as much as possible, working with Mr. Shamrock and the finance department behind the scenes, and to try to consolidate that process. But it's definitely come up with options in the plan for now that we have the money. Once we get that preliminary pre-construction done to rip out, so we can then, before we can even come up with that plan, we need that to happen. So without a passed budget full commission, we're going to do that. So it's a nominal fee. So especially since we have the funding for it, pay for it out of this. So I mean, that's the directive. It's for that planning, purpose of planning and proceeding with moving forward with that.
certain date and time?
I don't yet, so I will let you know when we can apply that. So, my intent is to have all of this here in this room, as much as possible, unless we need to do a field trip. So, Commissioner Jones.
My question was specifically on the time frame that's stated. I know there's been, talk back and forth in different committees on what is allowed, what's not allowed. And I want what you said to be reaffirmed about all of this for public, so we can put that issue to bed for all future ad hoc meetings.
Well, I mean, I'll restate what I said, our rules were changed so that ad hoc lasts a year, but that doesn't mean ad hoc's dead forever. That doesn't mean it can't be renewed. It's just.
It would be reconstituted.
It's no different than on committees that we go through every year for getting options. The committee doesn't die just because the term is in up to a year, so.
Health and Emergency Services was equal that.
No, it wasn't, because you had two issues going on there. One was the specificity of the ad hoc, and it not being able to let that one run because there was really no specificity, and it would need to be reconstituted. That's what my statement was in that one as well, was there would have to be a reconstitution of a new ad hoc committee with specific instructions on
Even
what
if they're
to
in
do.
the same specificity?
Yes, you can do that.
It's just renewing.
Okay, so it's just really a one-year review, basically, is what it is.
Correct.
Well, to reconstitute means you gotta take into account the members. Could it be the same members? Yes, but as long as you go through the
Protocol.
procedural process of reconstituting, then you should be fine.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Probably so.
Per our rule, ad hocs last a year. That doesn't mean it can't be restarted. It's just the fact it's just so they don't go in perpetuity. And you have unknown ad hocs out there like has happened.
Well, that statement's been used to kill ad hoc committees too. I wanted to be clear as to what can go on. And there's some easy ways around that if the majority wants to keep it going, that's how to do it. So I just need that stated for the record.
Yeah, thank you. So, just on that, just to clarify that, so many things have been misspoken regarding that, so, I will let you guys, I guess, get the members, and, I don't know if there's anything to do, meeting prior to, hopefully, budget approving that this month and getting action, so I don't know if we would have anything to meet in this month, or even the beginning of May, maybe towards the mid, or late May, to get something going. I mean, we could go ahead and have a preliminary meeting just to go ahead and, chairman, vice chairman, and kind of set the parameters and some goals, do an initial like that, like we've done with other ad hocs like that. So we might, I'll let you know, I'll reach out to all the members and, get with, Mike and Jim and, the school board member team, and we'll talk about that. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, so I don't know if you just
I just appointed them, so. I mean, we can vote on it if you want to. I'll make a motion to approve the members, slate that I suggested. Second by Commissioner Holmes, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, so we are going to, keep that on business from now on.
Keep it on business.
Yeah, we'll keep this as old business, until we meet at 1 o'clock, so unless,
Okay.
I'll keep it as old business unless we meet, then I'll drop it off.
Okay.
So work with the office. Item B, discussion, Millersville EMS station reconfiguration status, pages 31 through 43. Do I have a motion?
Motion to discuss.
Motion by Commissioner Klein to discuss, second by Commissioner Janelle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the floor is open. Commissioner Klein.
This has totally blindsided me. Had anybody heard about this possibility that they were gonna need that space?
No, that's new information.
Okay, that's all, okay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I too was surprised about that. It just brought up some concerns, and they're just questions that need to be thought about and asked. So if they're looking at doing, funding full-time firefighters from the city, then they're also looking at funding, being responsible to renovate the facilities for those firemen. And we're wanting to do something to take care of our EMS employees that may interfere with that. So the EMS employees have been neglected for close to a year now. We've been talking about this.
Maybe more.
Maybe more, and we may be considering pushing the pause button because their city is looking at doing this. I didn't think they could afford to do this. I'm trying to figure out how they're gonna afford to do this. That's a lot of positions to create and to fund, and we're just asking for, you know, some quarters for our employees. It's gonna be mutually beneficial to them, but I don't know where we go with that. It's a lot to think about.
I think, and we can get some input from the mayor on this, but I think we need to buy that trailer right away. Because if we're going to maintain 2 human beings at that facility to run those ambulances, we've already spent $30,000 renting that thing. I don't know what it costs, but I wouldn't think it would have cost $30,000. So it would seem like the prudent thing, because this could, I mean, this is Millersville and they've had their share of problems. This could take 2 years for them to, and we don't even know if we'd be included in it as far as sleeping quarters. So it seems to me right now we've got 2 options. Take our people out of there and find some other place to put the ambulance, or keep the trailer that we have there and buy it rather than continuing to rent it.
Well, I mean, I do want to ask a question of the town mayor as well as the city manager, so.
No, that's fine. That's why I was gonna go. Maybe they told us what they don't want to happen. Do they have any suggestions on what they would like us to do? Because we do have a challenge, and I don't disagree with you necessarily, but we may have some other options.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, would you mind addressing, I guess, what's changed?
Yeah, and,
renovating quarters for the EMS.
Right, and I've got the architect with us that can, be in a better position to answer questions, but what we are looking at, and I emailed you a rough schematic. We are looking at building onto the end of it and putting bunks in for the, for EMS. That would be our contribution to the station. They would move the ambulance to that other side, and then they would take the remaining part as their EMS, or as their fire station. They have thought about adding on, but that's coming at a future date. They're working on that with the architect separately, and so that's what they're working on.
When did you send the email?
I just sent the email out with the schematics on it. I thought I'd send it out earlier.
When? Today?
Yeah, I just sent it, just a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah, so, but it's a rough draft, that kind of shows it's not any architectural drawings. That will come at a later date, but basically it's just showing bunks on the opposite end of where they are now. If we consider buying a trailer, we would have to also look at hooking up water to it and some type of sewage disposal for it. Right now, since it was supposed to be temporary, at that point, we just did not hook up any water to it. We did not hook up any bathroom sewage, septic, anything like that to it. We have them, when they have to use the restroom, they go into the building and then come back.
Could that not be continued?
Yeah.
Commissioner Janelle?
I'm new on the committee, fairly new, I'm not new to the committee. I have a question. So when this was decided, I know we had the emergency situation where they were breathing in fumes and we had to get them into the trailer. I got that. So did we have a letter of agreement from the city of Millersville to allow us to renovate their building or add on to it, or did we just decide we were going to do that?
Well, they have gone through a transition. We do not have a formal letter, but they have gone through a transition.
Prior to that,
No.
We did have, prior to that,
We had
previous administration, we did, yes, had an agreement to come and renovate the station.
No.
but was it a letter, like a letter of agreement?
It was.
So doesn't that hold up when,
And we're still doing that.
well, he said, so we just said that he wasn't gonna be able to do that? You're adding on.
No,
to
they're
the-
not saying that we can't go in and add to that and occupy part of that with them. We can still have that partnership. They're concerned with the life safety issues of what's there right now, as is the state fire marshal and our architect. They all have concerns with the life safety issues of the existing
That's not what
space.
that man said. He said that the firemen, they were gonna need the space for their firemen, and there wasn't gonna be probably enough space for our people, because they need that space for more firemen. I don't know.
Yeah, that space, but not that space as a living quarters. Talking about that, the totality of that space.
Can we suspend the rules to talk to the guy that came up here just a minute
Yeah,
ago?
I'm going to get there, so, yeah, let's you got a motion for that?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have the city manager from Millersville come up here, please. I do have a question. So were you stating that right now, Sumner County EMS, are in those two sleeping quarters, correct? In that Bethel Road facility? They got kicked out.
They're in the trailer.
Well, yeah, they were there for 20 years until last year, all of a sudden, seriously, they can't be there. So, I understand for political reasons, but, so looking at.
Actually, it wasn't political, it was state fire marshal.
State fire marshal
Yeah.
said they couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they were there, they didn't change the code. It was there they were there for 20 years, so they were.
It was a code compliance issue.
So I understand, is your current city hall, and the current fire department, was also shut down for, being built wrong code? Is anybody staying in that as far as?
There's no one staying in that fire hallway.
Either, so nobody's staying, either one, there's nobody sleeping in either facility?
No.
So what is your intent to make that sleeping quarters for firemen, or can you explain that a little bit?
Which one are you speaking of?
The Bethel Road facility.
Yes, we're gonna have to make one of the two a fire station with 24-hour firefighters.
How many would you anticipate on the high end?
Two on a shift,
Two on a shift?
yes,
Okay.
24 hours a day.
Okay. So those sleeping quarters could be made code compliant, and that's where you would keep your firemen?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that your intent, to put your firemen, and you guys, Millersville, are gonna renovate that space?
We're looking at both stations right now. We've had an architect look at both stations to determine where we can most economically put firefighters. We've had them look at Bethel Road, we've had them look at Fire Station 1 where City Hall is, to see which one we can most economically make suitable for people to stay overnight, for us to have overnight firefighters. So we're looking at both of them.
I want to overlay these plans that we were just emailed moments ago to his statements and ask, have you seen the plans that we've been emailed?
I'm not sure what you were emailing.
So, that's right. It shows your existing with the add-on of the Sumner County. Existing apparatus bay, you just,
Yes, the mayor did show me that.
when did you do that?
I don't remember exactly when it was I got that.
Today, sometime today?
No, I don't believe it was today. I talked to the architect, and I think he had already done the sketch drawing of it.
Like Friday or last week sometime?
Last week, yeah,
So
Friday.
you were made aware that there was changes to this before we were, and then how much of this would cover both firemen and our EMS workers? Is that what the plan is?
That was a possibility, but again, that's something that I think would be more expensive for us to do, to build onto that.
So, Mr. Chairman, the way I see this is, we were originally faced with fixing a problem that we're looking at tens of thousands of dollars to fix. We're proposed $250,000 addition to a building to fix this code compliance issue. We found a cheaper way to do it, and now it seems like the high dollar way to build a fire station in Millersville is back on the table. Am I reading this wrong? Everybody's shaking their heads at the table.
Any more questions for this? We're there to get into discussion debate, so.
Well, I mean,
So, you have any questions for this?
no, I guess that's all. I just want to know when he got the information and why we didn't have it before he did. We should have been talking about whether or not this was an option before he was even presented this way. We're being told we can't do what we wanted to do as a committee, and he already knew another way to do it because he was talking to other people. That just doesn't seem right. I'm very frustrated by that. Anybody else want to ask a question?
You get your questions answered.
Yeah, so basically, what I understood was that your fire hall, say Bethel, let's talk about Bethel.
Okay.
So Bethel, if you're comfortable with the county taking part of, or adding on to your county, it's a city building.
It's a city building, yes, ma'am.
City building, I'm spending money to build your building. And, but are we gonna, I'm confused as to, part of your building is gonna have quarters for the firemen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then they wanna add on to your building for the EMS,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so,
Let me help you out a little bit.
Okay. This is our fire chief, Brad
If
Williams.
I can just really quickly, to make it a little bit more clear,
You get
we're
it.
talking about two different things.
Right, suspend the rules, so allow the fire chief.
Suspend the rules, allow the fire chief to speak.
Do I have a second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just to clear up just a little bit, I apologize, I've worked a lot on this project a little bit. Pretty well what we're talking about doing is adding some additional firefighters. Whether we put them at Station 1 at City Hall or Station 2 on Bethel Road is an option we're looking at today. But in a year from now, we need 2 more. So no matter what, we're gonna have firefighters at both stations within a year or 2. We're, excuse me, the project that the EMS is talking about is adding on to the end of the building. One of the reasons that has come up is because the current building as it sits does not function. You would have to do some construction to it, as I know Mr. Klein has looked into, that would, change that setup there. What I'm looking at doing is if I take that additional space, I'm actually taking out an entire bay and adding on quite a bit of square footage, taking out the old bedrooms and building new ones to code because the ones that are currently there do not meet code. So it's a much bigger project, and we have nothing to do with the EMS side. Like, we're not trying to move in with what y'all build, not trying to make nothing off of you. That is an entirely different project than what we were talking about. Now, there is a chance we may add on to that building in the future, which I have asked EMS to make sure that whatever construction you would do, that would allow us to add on to your project, because we may want to expand. Our problem is right now at Bethel Road, you're right, EMS moved in 20 years ago. When they moved into the only day room, the only kitchen, the only living quarters that is at this station. So what's different about Millersville than some other areas is, like Hendersonville and Gallatin and some other cities, is EMS is a part of the fire station. There's multiple things going on. What's happened at Millersville is Bethel Road is an entire EMS station that Millersville has owned for all these years. Millersville has paid the bills, Millersville has done everything. EMS has lived there and paid a part of the bills for a couple of years. But EMS taken over the entire area, and we store fire trucks there. So like during bad weather, bad storms, snow, all these different things we've had come up, where normally at the fire station, we send firemen up there to stand by. There's nowhere for my guys to go. There's no TV to watch, there's no room to go sit in. There's a kitchen, but it's very small. 6 people can't fit there, or even 4 from EMS. 2 EMS guys barely fit. So we're just asking to get the fire station space back so we can grow like the rest of the town.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a trailer house there that has EMS in it.
Camper, yes, ma'am.
So is it in a place that's gonna have to be relocated if you decide to do construction?
No, ma'am. It can stay exactly where it is, and of course, we'd always prefer the camper, the guys are out of the camper sooner than later, any way possible. Any way we can do to facilitate that, we will.
When did you become the chief of Millersville?
Just December.
Okay.
Everything changed in December for us. We have a new city manager, we have me now.
a new county commission started all around the same time.
Because last time we talked, you were the volunteer.
Volunteer fire department, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I got promoted.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have for Brad or anybody else.
All right, we'll bring it back to session.
Thank you.
A question or a statement.
Commissioner Klein.
I'm looking at these plans, and they're done by the architect workshop, who is the same architect doing Westmoreland and Oak Grove. And these have a date of February 24th, 2025. So this has been going on longer than this week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while, and I have been trying to get bids to bring y'all a full package, and unfortunately, I've just not been able to get all the bids in and share everything, so I just went ahead and sent this over, and I'll send the bids in as soon as I get them. That way we'll have a full package to discuss.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we got another Hendersonville library issue here, because we'll be spending a whole bunch of money on an extension. I mean, there's kind of two ways to look at it. I don't know when they're going to need their 2 full-time firemen, or spaces for their 2 full-time firemen. We've got 2 bedrooms that we've been using for 20 years that have a fairly minor code compliance issue. So we could do that work, and they could do the extension and build onto their building in any way they see fit. But I'm having a hard time as a county commissioner representing my district to spend, I don't know how much money. I mean, we'll know when the mayor brings bids in on a building that we have no right to, no ownership of. But, you know, who knows at the end of the day what we're going to be left with as far as liability and responsibility. I don't know. I'm kind of back if we should buy the trailer and just kind of see where this thing lands, because, you know, we're spending $2,500 or $2,800 a month on this trailer, and this could go on for a while before we can negotiate it through who is responsible for what and what the design is going to. I mean, I know the architect is good and he could make this happen really fast, but I know how the wheels of government work, and they move pretty slow. So I'm a bit at a loss. You know, this is news to all of us at this table, except maybe the mayor, and I'm not sure what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a little bit of I'm the commissioner who represents the area and was unaware of any until tonight, so I'm disappointed in that. So, especially being chairman of this committee, you just looking at the optics, it just doesn't look good, to be honest with you, Mr. Mayor. You brought a proposal in here several times to renovate that building for $250,000, knowing that we have quotes to do it at less than $25,000. Seems a convenient way to get that $250,000 price tag on that. So I mean,
Unfortunately, that the option of the $25,000 is not a viable option.
Well, not
Fire
anymore.
marshal has said that it's not a viable option to do it that way. Now Millersville has said this is their fire station, and this is the way they want it done. If we want to do it that way, we can do it. We can build on, or we can vacate and build another EMS station up Millersville. But we do have to work with the city of Millersville on this, and they do not want us renovating those bedrooms.
Well, I understand. We just learned that tonight for the first time. So this is new information. But I'm just saying it's been out there for several months, a proposal to do a $250,000 add-on, and which everybody at this table has not been agreeable with that. And last month, we asked you to bring back, whatever the option was, that we can de-scope it, because that's the role of this committee, saying, okay, no, we can renovate that. Conveniently, now we have Millersville showing up, and saying we don't want you in this space anymore. So now we only have 2 options: go with the original plan of spending $250,000 or more, or vacate the premises and go somewhere else. So I mean, that's kind of what we're faced with. I'm just saying it's just.
That was the meeting that we had last week. And, the optimum time to bring it to you is at this meeting, and have everybody here.
Yeah, so again, new information, so I guess there's nothing for us to do on that right now. Anything we would do, we'd have to have a new MOU with the city of Milledgeville before we agree to anything, at this point. So, we'll have to take a look at that another time. So, we're just gonna keep this under old business without any objections. All right, item D, motion for discussion, children or people building properties.
Motion to discuss.
Motion by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I'll start us off. I was not at the meeting, the joint meeting. My apologies. I got called in for work, out of town for a week in another state. I did have a chance to read through the packets and the PDFs and the PowerPoint presentations that were given to me. And so I don't really have any questions. To me, this seems to be a pretty clear cut and dry option to me. One is, and I think this was discussed in your committee, Commissioner Young, the options are is do nothing, keep the property, you give away the property, you could lease the property, we could sell the property for what the comptroller is saying the value that Dustin, it should be in the packet that came up from Dustin, around $186,000. That's what the comptroller has stated it is. Or we could do an appraisal, and figure out what a different value is of the property. And if we want, we could put it to bid or for auctions, the highest bidder. There's a lot of different things that could happen with this. I would just say I'm in favor personally, of offloading this property. I don't have a problem at all of partnering with the Prevention Coalition and the court, and to try to help them get into this facility. I guess it's kind of three different organizations. Seems like four, but you got Recovery Court, you have the Recovery Court nonprofit, and you have the Prevention Coalition nonprofit. I'm correct on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I know, just to recap my understanding, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong for the public, that the Sumner Prevention Coalition, that's where the opioid money would really be going to matching for purchasing the children or people, this specific parcel, which then once, if they are given to at least, or I guess, either bought it or give it to them, one or the other. If they own the property, they would then want to subdivide it so that the Recovery Court Inc. could take that house, either renovate it or tear it down, turn it into some kind of facility for individuals who are struggling with these types of addictions. And then, obviously, another component that's not part of this, but it's Judge Barnes' presentation that I did read through and talked about. We do have those schematics here that we'll talk about a little bit.
That's actual courthouse schematics.
This is the entire thing. This is just the recovery court.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet.
No, we're not, but I'm just saying this is, but again, this was part of the packet, the presentation from opioid of what we saw last month, or you guys observed. So I know that as part of that recovery court nonprofit, they would want to come over into this as well. And I know I've seen the letters, I guess, from the city of Gallatin. They have no problem, and the Prevention Coalition has no problem working with Gallatin for any kind of lease agreement for whatever storage they need for that parking lot. So I know there's questions about, some commissioners have concerns, different opinions on what they want to do for the property. They want to sell it to the highest bidder, which is, understand that position. I just see this one of those things. This is a way, one, to keep high-rise and apartments going in there that's going to exacerbate our development problem. If you allow something like this to go, it's a better use of that property, in my opinion. Partnering with them, I know they spend about 30 grand a year. How much was it a year? 30 grand a year on rent and utilities, and yes, 30 grand a year for these things. I know that was at least 20 grand or more, 23 grand, I think, is in rent for these groups, for the two different organizations, the Prevention Coalition and the Recovery Court Inc. I'll say, for I know it's not full nonprofit name, it's a given. But I know that some people have asked about having an appraisal, and getting that on the property. Appraisals are expensive. I know it's gonna be a couple $1,000, I'm sure, but we can recommend that budget, if we want to push out the budget for that. I'm just saying, I'm kind of laying the groundwork on it. Might make a motion here and wait for you guys too, but, I would like to just see us proceed with some type of moving forward with selling the property to them for that $186,000. You know, depending upon an appraisal and possibly some type of buyback clause, first right of refusal or reverter, to make sure that they're not going to take this and sell it for $1 million to developers or something that's abandoned. Or should this ever be abandoned, it comes back to the county free and clear, it comes back to the county for the price we sold it for, something like that. So that would be the only, I guess, thing I would throw out there as a caution to ensure that this isn't just going to be offloaded once it's out of the county. I think the county got the school board in '88. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dustin, you also got that.
That sounds about right.
That's in our packet, so you can pretty look and check the numbers, but I think that's right. For the nominal fee of $10, the county acquired that property in 1988. I don't know how the school board acquired it for, or the purchase history, or the value, or if there's any taxpayer money in this at all. I don't know. Right now, all I can see is that there's no been taxpayer money been allocated in purchase of this property to date. That's all I can see, based on the records. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong there. I don't know. It's a lot of.
I would like to point out, I had to do a title search on this because reverters kept coming back up. And just a little history here, this parcel is now a single parcel, was 3 tracts. Of those 3 tracts, one of the tracts at a minimum has a reservation and restriction, and it says it shall be used as a public health center in the event that same is not used for such purpose or ceases to be used for such purpose, then the title to same shall revert to the city of Gallatin. The Gallatin is the one that conveyed it to the school board and conveyed it to us. So I just want you all. No, I just found this before the meeting.
And you said that was 1/3 of the property?
It's at least 1 tract. I haven't got to. This was back in 1940. So, I haven't, the other 2 tracks I'm still trying to piece back, but that's still a cloud. But the benefit is, I don't see any problem with sandwiching all of this, use into the public health, arena. So that actually helps us, so that if that's the only restriction or reverter, then that's all we're asking them to do anyway. And then we can put in another reverter that parallels this one, and if it comes back to us, but we were always supposed to be using that for health purposes, for a health center.
But you don't know which part of the 3 parcel. Is it 2 parcels now?
There's 3 tracts that got consolidated to 1 parcel.
It's 1 acre.
So basically, if something happened, that whatever that 1/3 of the parcel would get parceled back out.
And I have not identified a plat to show you which part of that property it is.
And did you say the city gave that to the county, or you sold it?
Well, it was a $10.
Okay, so
Gave it to us.
Sumner County, as far as we know, we don't know whoever paid for that money, but it's prior to 1940, somebody paid for that parcel. Okay, well, just want to clarify that, just since we do have a fiduciary responsibility here, and looking through those avenues. Okay, well, that's good news.
And I would want to restate it on any transfer anyway, so nobody loses track of this and gets blindsided like we did on it.
Sure. Commissioner Jones.
I thought I heard someone say at the beginning that the opioid committee did not get to meet on this after our joint meeting. Is that
We
true?
had our joint meeting, and then we had a meeting last week, but we had tornadoes and floods. So as chairman, I did not feel comfortable making people come and be in danger, so I canceled the meeting, and we have another one April 23rd with scheduling.
So I wanted to ask though, at the beginning, is any decision or vote come out of this not really valid until that happens?
Well, when we had our joint committee, we talked about the options that we might. we didn't really vote on it, it wasn't a voting meeting. So we talked about the option of giving them the opportunity to buy the building for what he says, the grant money and their match, okay? So about $189,000, Cam2. And so instead of giving it away, because that doesn't give you, performance metrics as far as, you know, we're gonna do good, we're just gonna take it and turn it into a rally. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was where we were with it, but we said we'll send it to general ops to vote on whether what option they want to do is, we send it to general ops to take care of it. Because we're under budget.
For this meeting here?
Yeah. We're
able to
right.
make a decision.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can make the decision tonight. And I would say encourage, once we get the weeds and all that pulled out of the situation, that, you know, our option, this is separate from the fact, to me, it's separate from the fact that it's a different issue. The price, the option of getting the building for the group is a different issue. So we vote on whether we want to agree to sell it to them for that.
Well, yeah, our decision could clean all that up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's, if we vote to go forward with it, and I want to add to what Commissioner Mansfield said, we have, not only is it a fiduciary opportunity, it may not be as much as everybody thinks the building's worth, but the outcome of what that can be done there and the work that can be done can save the county tons of money in the future, because you're looking at incarceration being decreased, hopefully less drug overdoses, you know, all that stuff. And adding to what he also said, they can bring all these groups from everywhere, all these groups can come there and do their work. And that makes it all like a central location for, it's a one-shot for everybody. And when you think about mental health, I'm not going to delay on this, but if you have a place that you can get to that's not, I might have to go to that building over there or that building over there this time, your fallout from a program is greater. So if you're able to go to one place and do your one thing for your different programs, your opportunity for being a positive outcome is great. And that's a win on the county. It shows that, number one, we care about the people here, regardless of whether they have an addiction problem or not. And it shows that we have a buy into the money that was forwarded to us from the state for opioid abatement. Because that was a gift from the state for us to use that money for a purpose that met the guidelines of the opioid program. We have specific guidelines. So by the county receiving the funds, I will tell you, we're pretty much the number one in the state of Tennessee for our opioid program. So we're shining because we're doing what's right. And not that I'm trying to delay everything, but I'm trying to help you understand that if we put restrictions on everything that we do with this program and their ability to get grants and other things to do their work there, if you have a lot of, if we don't sell it, and if you lease it, they may impede their grants. So they don't have a match, you know, they don't have speed anything. So I think that what we decided was, instead of giving it away, because that would allow a lot of other people to be wanting to get things given to them, we decided that it would be better for them to put money in the bucket. And they said, of course, people say things, you know, that their intention was never to do anything that would, they were going to be there for years. So this is going to go on forever. I mean, addictions are not going to. So that's what we understood. But the biggest big thing is what you're saying is right. If we agree to move forward and allow them to buy the building, then this takes care of that, because it is health education. It falls right in the bucket of education for health.
I'll ask the question, but the other 2 points I wanted to make was from that joint meeting. The 2 things that seemed like everybody was hung up on that could make it sail through was solving what you said, the first right of refusal or reverter clause. I support everything you said in your comments. And I wasn't gonna cut you off at all, but you weren't selling me on anything because I was already on board. But thank you for saying this. All good information that everybody needs to hear.
Well,
Good. So,
yeah,
I just want to be very clear though, and it's probably better that this happened before your Gen Ops meeting, but really the only thing here is, are you willing to divest the property and under what terms do you want to do it? Opioid committee will take care of the rest.
And that's the job of this committee. I mean, it's not their job to go through that process. I mean,
so
so to answer your question,
reverter clause.
no, that's our,
No, we'll take care of that here.
to answer your question, it's the job of this committee to do everything you're asking, not OPM.
Okay.
Just to clarify. Dustin?
From the finance department's point of view, if you're looking at the parcel of land when talking with Director Line, one of the things you may want to consider is subdividing the parcel first. That way you could put the reverter clauses on both parcels of land, because right now we're looking at the parcel as a whole, and therefore it would maybe only subject to the not-for-profit being Sumner Prevention Coalition.
What's wrong with it running for the whole piece?
One of the things that he discussed was maybe trying to sell both of the properties and putting it that way if you wanted to. That way you would have the 2 tracks. That was it. And that was from a meeting earlier today.
It's my understanding that one entity wants to use something to benefit another entity.
I believe the cause for concern was if we put the reverter clause on it with the right of first refusal, if we put that in there and gave it to the Prevention Coalition and they turned around and tried to subdivide it, would we lose the ability to get it back from the other entity?
The cleanest way to do this is I keep the language that it be used as for public health purposes. I put it on the whole plat. And if I do that, and they do want to parcel it out, as long as it keeps getting used in that fashion, everything's fine. And then we've got a grab on everything.
Okay.
So as soon as it stops being used for that, even after being subdivided, then it comes back to you.
Converts.
What kind of restrictions would, because these are 2 different organizations. I understand they're working hand in hand. What kind of restrictions, one wants to use a lot of volunteer people to renovate, the other wants to tear down a building and build something for unwed money.
That's not our problem.
It's just, as long as whatever they're doing.
It is if there's a reverter clause.
No, but not if we're just using the public health as the use of the property.
Think about a hospital there if they want to, or an ambulance station, or a fire station, or a drug clinic, or a pill dispensary, or an AED clinic, no shocking.
And that puts the burden of the build out on them.
So, Eric, earlier today, we talked about reverter versus right of first refusal. And I thought we were thinking the right of first refusal was a simpler, cleaner way to go. Are you still feeling that way, or now you're back at the reverter?
No, because this really isn't a reverter. This is really, it's more of an exclusive use clause, and it's saying, yeah,
like a deed
you have this
restriction,
to
isn't
do
it?
whatever you want with it. But you see it a lot with churches. They'll donate property to churches, people will, and they'll say, this property can never have alcohol sold on it. You can't dance, you can't play instruments or whatever. And if that happens, it reverts back to the family. But if you don't do that, it's yours to do with as long as you want. So this keeps us in the game, but it doesn't cause us to come back and be in some bidding process or sale process or anything. If say they need bigger acreage at a later date, when they sell that property, that's going to be on there that whoever they sell it to has to use it for public health purposes.
So it's not really a deed restriction.
It is a deed restriction.
It is a deed restriction.
It's just not a right of first refusal.
Okay.
He has new information today that he just found out that he changed all the.
Yeah, I know, since we talked.
Pretty much it's restricted, and if they don't use it for that, it comes back to us free and clear. If they paid $1 million for it, it comes back to us.
Well, that's pretty clean.
I like it.
It has pretty accurate summation. Okay. motion to suspend the rules for Judge Blanton speak.
I want to just,
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Sorry.
I just wanted to make clear that, Recovery Court, Inc. was going to betroth this from the Prevention Coalition at no cost to demolish the house and get a grant to demolish the house and rebuild it. If you're gonna sell that to the Recovery Court Foundation, that changes the whole ballgame. Because that's not ever been discussed until tonight.
No, I think we need to.
So,
We're just saying we'll convey the property,
Okay.
lock, stock, and barrel. What happens after it's purchased?
I got you, but the comment from finance was to buy the property pre-sale, whatever we do with it, and if you do that, and you're gonna sell both tracts, it kind of defeats the purpose for the Recovery Court Foundation.
That's why I'd rather do it this way, because I'll be honest, it's less expensive for the county to do it this way. It puts the burden on the purchaser.
And because we can get, if we have the land, we could get grants to build it. The state has told us they'll give us a grant to build the house.
As long as we can justify public health purposes, we're fine.
Absolutely.
I'll bring us back in session. So again, it's almost the same thing as what happened with Gallatin when they gave us that property. It's been merged. It doesn't make a difference. We don't use it for health purposes. That third goes back and gets unmerged.
Well, we're actually going a step further. We're locking all of them.
Correct, but I'm just saying, the same thing happens here. If it's not used for that, then it comes back.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that it was combined without this reverter clause, or this deed restriction being noticed.
I'm gonna make a motion, that we move forward with selling this based, with the recommendation for an appraisal from budget, send it to budget, knowing that if an appraisal comes out differently than what the comptroller said, that we would have to write off the other half, or that portion as a nonprofit donation, that anything over their appraisal value. And, anything else I need to add to that? And,
You want the appraisal?
No, I think,
or do we need it? I mean,
You've already set a price.
but I mean, you would keep on telling, everybody said they want appraisals, so.
I just need somebody to tell me yes or no, so.
No,
We don't need that, but
cost money.
that costs money, and you already know what they were told they could get it for. It's on the December appraisal, and then you don't, we know it, there was a little bit of a weirdo thing going on there between December and March. So I would say we stick with the 189, what's on that paper from December, and
It's not 186.
the 186.
The reason I was adamant about it was if we went market.
Well, we don't know how this is gonna apply from the floor or apply from the budget. I'm just saying.
And I can always do an appraisal on that day, but if you want one, I'll do one.
I just know that if we agree to this pre-purchase price, and this is our motion to move forward with that $186,000, let's say that it becomes, it's worth $200,000. You've got that, $14,000 difference that you have to write off as a nonprofit donation at that point, right? I mean, it's almost like a fair market value with that out of the nonprofit. If you're selling something under what maybe value might be, wouldn't that partly be a nonprofit write-off or a balance if you got in a situation?
In the practice, an estimate or evaluation was a starting point. You can litigate the value of land all day long because no two pieces are the same. And if it was that close 14, I'd say call it a wash, but if you're talking a couple $100,000 difference.
$200,000.
Yes,
So at that point,
you have to account for that.
as far as a nonprofit donation, a write-off of that whatever that perceived value was, in order to keep it clean. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to keep things buttoned up here. Because you're gonna have some commissioners saying, well, I wanna sell this and I don't wanna give it away.
Probably, yes.
Well, we need to say to them, I know what I'm saying.
Or I want to sell it to the highest bidder for a developer to come in and build apartments.
Yeah. I have something to say. So what he's saying about the deed restriction and what they're wanting to pay for it, you know, because if you change the scope of what they're doing, it still comes back.
Well, you know what, I forget what I just said before. I had a memory relapse about what you just introduced here, the fact it can only be used for this purpose, is it really would be a waste of time and money to do an appraisal at this point.
Okay, sounds like it's your motion.
All right, so.
Plus, I think, as far as the
I just-
disposition of the property, I think as far as counties go, you've got a little bit more latitude on how you can do that.
Well,
You're not
true.
going to go to a commercial.
I'm trying to think through all the arguments here, but I forgot. Momentary lapse, and apologies that you just introduced this new piece of information about from that deed restriction. That really changes the entire discussion paradigm.
It does.
My opinion, if you guys can see. So my motion is to move forward with negotiations to sell this property to the Sumner Prevention Coalition for the 186, which that opioid is given $100,000, I think, or looking to give $100,000, and they're going to match the other. Is there anything else I need to add to that?
Do we need to have the word negotiate in there, because didn't they already offer to pay that?
They did.
We just, from
Or is
this,
that important?
from this committee, we just need to authorize the sale. They can navigate the waters with Dustin as far as how that money gets there.
Well, that's my motion, is to move forward with negotiating and navigating the sale, knowing that we have those deed restrictions due to healthcare or medical type facility in perpetuity on that property.
With the reverter, just to be clear, what we're motioning is the sale of this Winchester location for $186,000 with the reverter provision to the Sumner Prevention Coalition.
And yes, and Commissioner Jones seconded it.
Okay.
Is there any more discussions or questions? Any questions? Commissioner Moss, any questions? Commissioner Holmes? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. New business. Yay.
Didn't y'all have contact information?
Eric. I got it. We're good.
Get contact info from the county attorney.
Thank you.
All right, new business. Item A, discussion health department ELC funding. Hal, did you want to speak to that? No?
It's gone.
Oh.
It was, cut, so.
All right, well,
March through it.
we're going to remove that from the agenda, but I did promise you I'll put you in first on new business.
No problem, no problem.
So at least I got you first, start you, and then I have to get you. All right, that's all good. Was there anything else we had for you on here now? Or you don't think so?
Hey, Jeremy, did we just skip over proposal for grant funding presentation? Is that
That's
from
from
Judge?
recovery.
No, this is all recovery court.
It's different than the We Children of People bill.
Okay.
It's all on the deed.
It is, okay, that was my mistake then. So, I guess I just included that as part of the package, because I got the email and that's all part of the all stuff.
It's not part of the Children of People bill.
Correct, I knew that was something separate, so that was just, it was all lumped in with that same, it was a part of that joint meeting, correct?
It was, but it was treated as two separate matters at the joint meeting.
Gotcha.
We need to have it now.
Well, my question is, I don't know, this is the proposal, I don't know what the opiate, I guess I'll make a motion for discussion on the last bullet point of item D of old business.
Second.
All right, do I have
A second.
all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, so let's discuss that. Commissioner Nunn, or Dustin, where are we in the process, or what's the opioid committee's position on the $500,000, I think, it's been discussed as far as allocating towards it?
So there's two purviews that are going on right now. Number one, we'll be going in front of the opioid abatement committee coming up on April 23rd. The $500,000 is supposed to come out of payment number 2 check to be discussed, to potentially give it to recovery courts. I'm going to ask them to swap it to payment number 3. That way it gives us longer time for discussion. And number 2, at this point in time, as Judge Blanton can tell you, he did submit a request in front of budgets, under his budgets for capital funds.
All right. Hey, guys, you guys mind going out in the hall talking? I'm just grabbing a hard time hearing your things.
So the question will, be, will the budget committee actually honor his request, or will we need to potentially use opioid abatement funds? So at this point in time, I do not have an answer, because his meeting is April, I believe Judge Blayton said was 29th.
April 30th.
April 30th. So I won't know exactly what budget intends to do until after that time period.
Gotcha. I don't think there's any action for us to take on this at the time. And this actually be part of my discussion on F anyway, a little bit. So, without any further discussion, I'm going to move on from this, if that's okay. All right, disposal of surplus county property, item D, under new business. Have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Holmes. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Item C, replace the heat pump at the archive building. Have a motion for discussion.
Motion to discuss.
Got a motion by Commissioner Klondo, a second. Second by Commissioner Young, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Justin, was there anything, for Scott, that we need, anything here to take action on? Commissioner Klondo?
As I understand from the documents, and maybe the mayor can help us here, we had a geothermal unit up on that roof. Those are not available according to the documentation anymore, so we had to convert it to something else.
We converted it to traditional heat.
Do you know how many tons we're talking about?
And the exact times, I apologize.
Yeah, because it seems horrendously expensive for, they're not big units.
Yeah, they're not, but that's the current price, and we were only gonna fix one, but with, finances asked that, I guarantee that another one won't go out, because they're lumping this, if we do more than one, they're starting to lump it as a project, and so we figured we'd go ahead and make it a project, and get all of those done at one time with the money that y'all have already allocated for them. And that way, we have only one engineer's report, because we're gonna have to expand the electrical in there, because the electrical will not handle more than 3 units under the heat.
Okay, so we're replacing all those HVAC units up there?
Those 5 on that side, yes. They're all scheduled to be replaced, we were just waiting for them to go out. I just don't know when they'll go out. I wanted to replace them one at a time, but.
Well, the crane is gonna be expensive to get them up there, but it just, you know, those units are commercial units, they could, I mean.
They may last another year, may last 2 years.
Or 10 years.
Or they may go out next week, I can't guarantee that.
Right. Okay, so I missed that, so we're replacing 5 units and it's $16,000 for 5 units? Is that what?
Oh, no, I don't know where that price came from, I don't have the price yet. Yeah, I get
Page 142, Marshall requested a proposal from the engineer to prepare a bid package to specifications to replace the 3 remaining HVAC units on the archive building.
Okay, so 2 of them have been replaced already?
there should be 5. I'll have to double check with Marshall, I may have incorrect information. We've replaced one, and now another one is out. So.
And that's the geothermal one?
Yes. Yeah, and it's just not feasible to replace it with geothermal. They can't find the units.
It says on page 141, from Director Loring, can replace 1 unit this year, I guess meaning 2025 already. And then finances received a request to replace the 3 additional units. So 1 has been replaced, 3 more were requested by Marshall Boyd on Friday, March 7th, and that's on page 142 of your packet. But we do not know the cost of these. As of March the 7th, a month ago, a big package and specifications. So I don't know where we're at in that process for that bid package. Is that?
Okay, on page 143, item 3, it says this is the 2nd unit replaced this fiscal year, and the combined cost will be more than $25,000.
Okay, so that's obviously there's one in this calendar year been replaced with, like, what you saying, that one email, fiscal year, so that's since July 1st.
There were some dairy-berry, estimates.
Very,
So there's your 5 number. 2 have been replaced and 3, they're requesting 3 more. Commissioner Jones.
Is this because of age?
Well, they're aging out, but it's, the reason why we're gonna go ahead and replace all of them is economies, because I can't guarantee that another one's gonna go out or it's not gonna go out. And what they're wanting to do is they're saying it's now lumping together as one project. What I wanna do is just replace them as they go out, but we can't do that with finance. So we have to, he's lumping it together as one project. If you do more than one in a year, he's calling that a project, not an individual unit.
Because of the threshold of architect fees? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, because he's saying that replacing those units up there, it could look as though we're staging them to avoid an architect fee. Remember we talked about re-roofing that in sections to avoid architect?
Yeah,
Well, he's applying that methodology to the air units.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So, but things that have a maintenance track record, you can verify, you know, their longevity and look at their history of maintenance. You can see a unit going out and justify the need for replacing it. You could preemptively just replace them all because of the age, but you could get rid of units that could have had, like we said, 5, 6, 7, 8 more years left in them, 10 more years. You never know. I had a air conditioner from 1984 that finally went out 3 years ago, and I finally replaced it. I know they don't build them like they used to, but preemptively planning to do that, to replace all of them at the same time, it doesn't sound like a good use of taxpayer money. I mean, it's spare no expense, that's one thing. But then on the other hand, they're gonna age out at the same time too. It's better to stagger, equipment so that it is budgetable over time to replace 1 or 2 every few years rather than replace 3 every 10 years or however long they last. Yeah, I'd like to see the maintenance record on them, like we looked at when we first came into office.
Mm-hmm.
There was, how many of them were slated to get replaced? There's a tons of them. We found out if we would have replaced them, that the federal emission standards were getting ready to change within months, and we would have bought units that were going to expire. The coolant was going to be
Changed
wrong
again.
coolant within 6 months. There's going to be a new coolant.
Well, not only that, but there were mistakes made on some, like the Westmoreland Library said that those units were, I don't know, very old, and I went up and took pictures of them, and the dates, they were only a year or 2 old. So, you know, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know if there were any other prices given. I've used Dairy for years, and sometimes they give great prices, and sometimes they just stick it to you. And
Well, I suppose I can see there's been no prices given at all.
well, on page 151, we have an estimate by Dairy to replace a 3-ton unit for almost $20,000. That's a lot of money for a 3-ton unit.
That was when we were replacing one, and yeah, they were the low bid, Dairy. We had 2 other bids on that project, but when we're lumping together, we don't have any bids. And, you know, and I agree with you 100%, I'd rather do them one at a time, it doesn't make sense. But since it's being interpreted as a project, I have to guarantee that none are gonna go out for the rest of the fiscal year. And I can't make that guarantee, and no one at this table can make that guarantee.
Dustin, can you, I guess, I don't understand the logic there on air conditioning units being on driving an architectural bid. I mean, it's like versus, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we have 3 units that aren't broken, but we're being asked to replace them. So help me understand.
That one I'm gonna have to wait and confirm with the Director Loring on that one. That was not brought up in our discussion today before the meeting. so I can't give you actual information on how to proceed.
So I guess why was Marshall trying to say we need 3 new air conditioning units? Does anybody know?
No.
Yes, because our office could not guarantee that another one will not go out before the end of the fiscal year. Therefore, we have to have an architect involved in it because it's breaking a $50,000 threshold. It's gonna be counted as a project if another one goes out.
Because this is saying, because if a third unit goes out and has to be replaced in the fiscal year, it counts as a project. I guess.
And if we just
Probably
replace,
more clarification.
It's not a,
if we replace
it's not a
this
unit,
one,
it's a monetary amount. It's breaking the 50,000. So it should, if you're break
But it's not a
50,000,
construction project. This is not a building and architect project according to state law. I wouldn't get to argue this. I wouldn't get the state law on this.
I agree, but if you interpret, what he's got here for the Tennessee code.
I wanted to hear what he had to, he was in the middle of a sentence.
well, I mean, the law is if there's a modification to electricity, on the third unit, we will have to make a modification to the electricity. The electrical load that we have now will only handle those 2 units, as we replace them from geothermal to a heat pump model.
Okay, because you're going from one model to another, it's gonna require that level of intervention. Therefore, that's why it's probably interpreted that way.
Are those
That
heat
third
pump
unit,
units?
I can't guarantee will not go out for the end of the fiscal year. Now, if we run till the end of the fiscal year with nothing going out, we're fine. And I'm willing to take that gamble and just replace one. But I've been overruled from finance on that.
Well, I guess here's my question. Go to Commissioner Jones for that.
I was going to make a motion to, put this to all business utilities, the finance director in here to answer.
Now, bear in mind, we have a unit that's out right now in the archives building. So we do need to get something going.
The third unit is broken and
No, the second unit is broken.
Yeah, second of 5.
Yeah. The second unit's broken, and if we just replace that one,
Okay.
then we're okay.
I guess I was misinterpreting, his email that says this is the
Third
second
one
unit
that's
that's replaced this fiscal year. Okay.
But it hasn't been replaced
And
yet.
this will be the second unit replaced this year, meaning, and we get to that third one, that's where you get
The
that.
third one is where we have to have an engineer come in because we have to modify the electrical, and that requires engineering for it.
Scott?
Mr. Mayor, do you know how much it cost to replace the first one and when it was replaced?
So I don't have that information in front of me.
That would be helpful.
It was this fiscal year.
Well, we got a motion by Commissioner Jones to defer this till May.
Well,
Second.
I was waiting on those before I knew we had one unit out. But then it's operating about one.
What is I guess we have 4 units currently operating right now and 1 broken.
Is it functioning, just have to keep adding Freon to it, or is it not working?
It's geothermal.
Is there anything that, so this is the second unit, is there anything precludes us from moving forward and recommending the budget replace this 1 unit right now?
Finance director.
But it's not the third one.
It's not the third one, and if the third one doesn't go out before June 30th, we're fine.
Well, this budget tries to kill a lot of things that we do here sometimes.
That wouldn't get your budget by June anyway.
It wouldn't hurt my feelings if y'all push just 1 unit through, and we get fixing
I'm gonna make a motion to approve fixing 1 unit and send it to budget. And we'll let, then Mr. Long can address it there.
Yeah, I'm willing to gamble.
And you're on budget committee, so you can see what David has to say, so we'll do that, that's my recommendation. Can that happen next week, not wait till May? That's my question, Dustin, or Eric, or Scott. Thumbs up? Okay.
It's a zone issue. I don't know how the zones are divided in that big building, because it's very open. So I'm thinking they've got, usually when engineers calculate this stuff, they have a percentage that they calculate over. And so I don't think anybody's gonna die in that building from heat
So
exhaustion.
they're all working together, cool, with base.
This particular unit's for the director's office and the front conference.
We got a
But her
motion
door is always
We got a
open.
second. to approve, send the budget to approve funding for 1 unit at this time.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, and then you guys can, My question is, make sure it's on budget. The agenda hasn't come out yet that I know of, so there's time to add it for tomorrow. Or tomorrow. But if not, you guys can do it from the floor, on the table on Monday. All right. Item D, discussion for new courtroom build-out with 152 of Mr. Shamrock. I'll open the floor, make a motion for discussion. All right, say aye. Any opposed? All right.
So for the courtroom build-out, I reached out to Kimley Horn, which was the architect that we're using for Franklin Street, as we don't have a whole lot of projects going on with them right at the moment. Had a meeting with them last week. They don't have interior architects.
I was gonna say they're a civil, aren't they?
They only do building architecture and landscape. So I asked for recommendations. I reached out to.
Stop there for a second. So deep.
They don't do interior architecture.
They're civil engineering firm.
Okay, and this is the people you reached out to. I was making sure I wasn't the people that did
This was after I
Okay.
reached out to the original architect that turned it down. I then reached out to Wold Architects. I have a meeting with one of their ladies Thursday at the courthouse. We're going to walk through it and go over everything and kind of go from there. But that's kind of my next one on my list. And that's kind of where it stands. They seem fairly interested in it and going all for it.
Recommendations for the architects that have done.
I'm gonna call the same guy who gave us a price on the Millersville. And he's right next to the police station in Gallatin.
We'll have several people.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to have several people.
Ridiculous revenue to do this anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so no action to take on that right now.
On whole business or on?
Do we need this on this, or can you just cover this under the?
I'm gonna put it on my report.
All right, we'll let him put it under the report, and we will just remove that from our agenda. All right. Franklin Street Stormwater, pages 152, 157, do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion to
Motion
discuss.
by Commissioner Klein, second by Commissioner Jones, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Shamrock.
All right, so for this one, we're getting there. We're getting there with the Gallatin and the Franklin stormwater. We did the bid out. I've got LNG just waiting on the back burner right now. I'll let them know as soon as I get my way forward. We'll do our contract negotiations and get everything underway. Not a big deal. They understand. Kimley Horn was only scoped to do the bid. So we paid them $10,000 to do the bid out, and then that was all of their scope of work. I reached out to see what it would cost. I still have $29,000 and some change on the line because LNG came under budget. Asked them what it would be for an NTE of $20,000 was recommended. If we use all of that for them to run all construction admin or not, we'll see. They're going to run hourly with an NTE of $20,000, so we could come under that significantly or over it potentially. Not to exceed 20,000. But
So
this,
would they be hiring an independent person, not somebody in their own company, or?
They would be doing it. So
They
Matt,
would be doing it in-house.
Matt Schlicker, he would be the one in charge of the whole thing.
Okay.
Doing the construction admin and review of all the construction.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much more comfortable than I know nothing about storm drains.
I know a lot about storm drains.
So.
Commissioner Klein, are you comfortable with that?
Well, it's kind of like the fox watching the hen house. You know, usually if you're gonna have a concrete or an administrator overseeing the construction, he
It's gonna be
doesn't.
$20,000, we got $20,000, you're gonna make it $20,000.
Do you think you could find an independent oversight and get a price from him? Seems like a lot of money to watch a 3-week project.
It's not a 3-week project, it's 2 to 3 month project.
2 to 3 months? Wow, okay.
It was, I think they had it.
I mean, we're still waiting on the water department to make their connection.
Correct.
From
Yeah,
the
they're
wa-
still doing their part of it.
Well, the city of Gallatin just put in an 8-inch water line, or 12-inch. I think it's a 12-inch water line in the same street, and that made room for our storm drain, so, and they replaced the sewers, so the sewer's brand new.
Right.
I mean, the only thing we have to worry about is water laterals and gas, you know. Doesn't seem like it'd be a 3-month project, but I guess they could run into complications. Anyway, I would like to see us try to find somebody who's independent, who would oversee that thing to watch out for us. It's not that I don't trust LNG, it's just, seems like the right thing to do is to have an independent oversight working on our behalf and not on the pipe company's behalf.
The other thing that goes along with this is getting Gallatin to pay us. So we're trying to ramp this up because they still haven't repaid that money. And this was part of the
For the
agreement.
parking structure, yeah.
Yeah, and this was part of the agreement. Once we get this started, that should have be paid.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get it up and running
Take action on
as quick as possible.
Well, can we instruct, do you think you could find somebody who's independent that could be the oversight, the general manager of this pipe going in? Somebody besides?
I could get options. I don't know if it's gonna cost $20,000 or if it's gonna cost more.
Or
It might
less.
get worse.
Or less, I don't know either. So do we have to make a motion, or can Scott just go after it?
You need to make a motion.
I make a motion that Scott look for, at least one person who would do the general management of, and oversight of that storm drain.
And if they can't find one?
No. Let's,
So are you, my question, are you, LNG has their own person that will oversee it while they're putting it in?
We'll have a supervisor there.
And who would the supervisor report to? Our, marshal?
It would either, right now it would be me,
You?
and to be honest, I don't know anything about putting a storm drain in the ground. So whatever they tell me, I'd have to take at face value.
But you'll charge $20,000 to do that?
And then you're looking at it,
I mean, I trust the
storm drain, that's like a civil engineering project?
I trust the architect, engineers more than I
I'm
trust.
confident Scott can find somebody.
So, the motion is for, Scott to
Find an
research finding an independent project manager.
So we can wait till next month to come back here. Move forward.
Well, yeah, the contract may not even be final in a month anyway. Okay, so that was my motion. Is there a second?
We need to say, you can.
I'll second it for the discussion.
Okay.
Commissioner Evans?
I mean, I just wanted to kind of flesh that out. Where do you see him making a phone call to go to for?
Well, there's, I mean, there are independent oversight.
You may have a black book full of them, but,
I don't, but
I mean, where do you think he's gonna go to look that's gonna be a trusted source that's, and I'm not questioning the whys. You've got a, good reason to say that. We do want some
probably
oversight.
the first guy I would call is John Janung.
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen.
No, but he probably knows 20 people that do that.
Oh, okay, for references.
Yeah.
I can ask him.
Um,
Hey, who you need to ask is the city of Gallatin, the storm drainage people. They'll be able to give you because I just had them out looking at a storm drain problem in one of my rentals. And they'll. no one's fixing anything, so we'll see.
We have a motion with a second. Is there any, is this gonna, by doing this, is there any delay on our part, or is there any?
I mean, the project will just delay another month.
Well, but it's already delayed anyway, because we don't have a final contract, and we don't, they haven't, I mean, David Kellogg told me.
Tomorrow I could do the contract.
Yeah.
Can they run parallel to where it doesn't delay?
You know, if it was going to delay, could we do a special call meeting?
Well, it's gonna delay.
No, it doesn't necessarily delay, depending on when the contract's ready and when the city of Gallatin finally gets the water hooked up.
Or do we have to vote on that contract, or do we have to vote on who he brings for the oversight?
You'd have to vote on the people that for oversight.
And
It delays about a month.
unless we have a special call meeting for it. Right?
Technically, yeah.
What do you mean?
My other argument is to do Kimley Horn, because they just bid it and they know every single part of this project.
Just them to oversight. That's what I'm gonna ask, is what do we get for our $10,000?
I got
20.
The bid and
Yeah,
they have an LNG.
Kimberly Warren could do it.
They just bid it, so they know everything about the project. Yeah, I mean, they're only billing us hourly, and told them an MT is $20,000. They're gonna, right now, they could hit the ground running. Tomorrow, technically. But it's up to y'all.
They're independent, so I would have no problem with Kimley Horn doing it. They don't have any connections with LNG that anybody would know of. LNG's a contractor, Kimley Horn's a civil engineer.
Can we ask them to bid that oversight part of the job out? What they would charge for it, or we just offer them $20,000 to do it?
Well, we can ask them for a price. They haven't given you a price yet.
They couldn't give me a price. They told me it would be hourly, and it would be roughly $15,000 to $20,000. And we said we would do it we'd do it.
I always hired
not
guys
to
like that by the hour. You know.
So do we need to do something not to exceed, or?
Yeah, we can do a not to.
That's what we're doing.
Say up to $20,000?
It already has that.
We already have that.
Already says not to exceed $20,000 per hour.
Now, let's have Kimley Horn do it.
All right.
You're gonna change your motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we use Kimley Horn as the oversight for this pipe project.
Is there any problem with that?
No, I'll have it signed by there tomorrow, and the contract negotiations start with LNG as soon as all that's done.
All votes aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Yeah.
When I have an update on.
It'll come in.
It'll come in.
Yeah, that'll be my monthly.
Okay, come down to that. Okay. All right, item F, do I have a motion for discussion?
Motion to discuss.
Do you have a second? Second by Commissioner Janelle, motion by Commissioner Klein, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This I added to the agenda was brought up, from our law director's office, just flagging a little bit. This was Ron wasn't gone, but you'll look at the plans that you have.
And I need these back when you're done with them.
Yeah, so these will go back to the law director's office. This drawing right here, the black, is the, if you take, if you take this long sheet of paper, it's the top portion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm gonna draw a line right here at the top portion of this corridor. There's basically a wall here a little bit. This is a dividing line, and this is what the recovery court is asking for this space.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheriff is asking for everything else
Mm-hmm.
in the space. So we did a tour last October or late October. This is what we did a tour of. That cuts off the wall.
Yeah, you cut off a little too, you not to,
Okay.
put down just a little bit more.
Okay.
And then come across.
Yeah.
Put that, there you go. Yeah.
No, they're not doing that. They're actually going up here.
You're right.
You're asking for just a smaller
I did
space.
the whole picture and not the dark out.
So, anyway, that's where the dividing line broke on the left-hand side. And then my understanding was, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, the sheriff asking for all the bottom portion of that facility. Do I know?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Just a notation, obviously, we need to, as a commission, approve, the allocation of that space. That is, our, statutory obligation and responsibility on assigning, space to department heads and departments, in constitutional office such as the sheriff or the, judges. So, I think we just need to push that forward, if that's our intent, to allow the sheriff to occupy it and go into this lower half and allow recovery court to go in the upper half, which is the opioid process for the $500,000 plus the $165 extra that they're getting, I think their grants are approaching. Supposedly, we're being told no cost to the county. We will want that in writing from the recovery court for you guys, for record for you this time. We're not gonna take somebody's word for it from the state, because they obviously did not tell us the truth on that. So, I guess, I probably need a motion to, officially declare this space, Mr. Law Director, correct me if I'm
And
wrong.
we're talking only for recovery court.
We're talking two topics here. What recovery wants and the remainder basically going to the sheriff's department.
If that's what we're understanding, that was the intent or the request or ask.
Well, I just gotta tell you that what the sheriff is in right now and what he's asking for is about 10 times what he's got. And about half of his rooms are not even labeled what they are. I mean, look at all the areas that he doesn't even have a designation for them.
By doing this, I was gonna ask, are we committing to the project? Because we don't even know what it is. We're saying they can have all of that, but we're kind of starting to lock ourselves into building all that out.
Well,
$4 million.
This is just giving them a footprint. That's all that you.
My understanding is they're already using this space. Am I wrong?
Yes, it's my understanding that both parties are
That's
using
kind of
it.
the problem, it's kind of like squatters, right out of squatters. I mean, statutorily, a true story. So, I like the election commission, squatting currently. So, that if recovery court is using this already, and there's no intended use, and there's an ask out there, I don't have any objection, at least moving forward with designating this space for recovery court use, whether it gets renovated or not. It's a perfectly functioning courtroom.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with, it's the sheriff's area that I'm.
Well, it could be that too. We can just focus on the recovery and then you could have the sheriff table his plans to you all.
Yeah, come and discuss it, but,
From the recovery court standpoint, you need to realize you have both recovery court and the not-for-profit in there. So if the not-for-profit is in there, then I would be looking towards legal regarding leases or liability, as well as recouping some of the funds for our internal service fees, whether it's electricity, water, or stormwater,
I was unaware of that.
because they are in there as well.
nonprofit.
Are they already in there?
They're not in there right now, but the plan is to put them in there. So therefore, you have that section in there as well.
Where we live in?
I have no idea.
They are, they're doing mental health, they have mental health court, they have offices,
Does anybody know what they're currently already doing? I'm understanding recovery court has already taken place in this space as it has been for the past 10+ years. I mean, so they've been functioning in this space, but now that it's been vacated, it's no longer a courtroom. Technically, we need to designate the space to them.
I was in there not that long ago. There was nobody in there doing anything.
and they only meet on Monday night.
Oh, so, okay. That explains that.
You probably
Go drive through if you'll mind it.
Yeah, I don't do much on Monday nights.
So, we don't have to take action, I'm just saying we need to
If we're gonna do something in this space, then the commission needs to approve it, it has to be ratified by the commission.
I'm not trying to keep people from having space, but this ultimately converts into money. You know, the recovery court is, you know, they're worried about the $650,000 or whatever, because that's $150 more than Ron has to work with. And so I'm not as concerned about that, but the sheriff has already talked about $4 million.
I know,
And it's like, wait, I'm sorry, we're gonna build a few walls and probably tear a few others down. Where do we get $4 million from, Marshall? Yeah, well.
He's the one who came up with that.
Yeah, and so, you know, I need a budget or something.
Well, can we do like the law that says, go ahead and designate top portion, save the sheriff's portion until we see a plan, because we commit to giving it to both of them. We're locking into a plan going forward, and we can never take away and say, no, we want to do something else with this portion because we can't afford to do all of it.
And we don't have to do anything tonight, I'm just bringing it up for discussion, so with the taking, statutorily, yes, it is.
Know that they need to have that designated.
Statutorily, yes. We need to do that. We need, so.
The issue is the opioid money, because it has to be used in a certain time frame, am I right? And so if we delay, we could have a good chance of losing that money for that project.
Who's paying for the renovation for drug court?
Okay, so there's two things that have happened. First option is recovery court, not-for-profit. I'm just going to say not-for-profit from now on. Not-for-profit received $138,000 to move elsewhere because their costs are escalating as well, like Sumner Coalition. So they received those funds, and they have expressed interest in submitting a letter stating that they want their funds to go for this build-out. That way they could potentially relocate there. In the plans that we received for our joint meeting, there is a area that's designated as blue and an area that's designated as white, and the blue area was supposed to go for, I believe, recovery court not-for-profit. I will share that with you all tomorrow morning, if Scott will remind me. Now, recovery court itself, which is Judge Blanton, we had a motion to set aside $500,000 for discussions. That's what we are currently in. It's not 100% committed. What I'm going to ask the opioid abatement committee coming up April 23rd, which Commissioner Gunung is correct, we are under a time frame, and it's a little bit too tight for me due to the build-outs and everything that's going on. I'm going to ask for that $500,000 to switch from payment number 2 to payment number 3. That will give us an extra lot of time to work through any issues that you all may have, as well as the opioid abatement committee, should they choose to fund this project. So that gives you a total of $638,000. During the meeting that we had that was joint, there was mention from Judge Blanton, I think it was that one. He said there was money left over in payment number 2 that he wanted as well. Recommendation right now from finance is no. That one is going towards potentially another project that a county department needs, which is body scanners as well as mail scanners. At this point in time, Sumner County does not have any mail scanners in its jail facility. And so there is concern about that one, which will be brought up at April 23rd's meeting to see if opioids wants to use that remaining amount to fund the mail scanners, which is what the sheriff has requested. So that is the breakdown of the funds.
And Marshall Boyd's budget, which is very rough, was $650?
It was somewhere around there, yes.
Yeah. I think we're certainly close enough on the drug court area that we could commit to that. It's not going to be a lot of money, and it could be less.
Well, I know the sheriff's estimate was roughly 3.4 to 4 million, over $3.4 million or whatever he was at.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there.
What I will say is one of the last conversations I've had with Judge Hunter is looking at what, Marshall Boyd has done, looking at the bathrooms, they don't need to be relocated, except where they do probably need to be handicapped accessible, for ADA compliance, but there was some alternatives that could have been offered in that build-out that could have saved us some money in the long run.
There were some
There
alternatives?
could be some.
There could, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, aren't we gonna do some value engineering? I mean, this is so far from an architectural plan right now.
At this point in time, based upon conversations I have had with the state, it appears I cannot use funding for an architectural rendering to move forward.
Right.
I can only use it for a build-out because it is a project that is guaranteed. So if you all were to pursue it, I do not have any funds available from opioid funding to secure an architect.
Okay, so we need to pay for the architect.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think, didn't Judge Blanton say that he was working with an architect, though? They'd already kind of looked at it?
I think that was for the other property.
Oh. Maybe for this property, and it could be Ohio, an architectural firm in Ohio. That was briefly mentioned during the joint
Right. He had put something
committee,
on
I
that.
think.
He had an architect already looking at it.
Here's my problem in any of this is that the health department, you say, we got $638,000 for this recovery court that needs once a month build out,
No, once a week.
once a week build out. You know, this is gonna come back at $1 million. County's on the hook for $400,000. Capital project money. I mean, that's a concern. You know, very real possibility. So, I guess what makes, I don't know, I mean, we don't have to do that tonight, or if we wanted to move forward, at least, do a resolution designating this space for use for recovery court for usage right now, because they can use it right now within no renovations. It's a function court, and it's functioned for 30-something years. So there's nothing wrong with it.
Right, and it's got functional bathrooms.
Yeah, I mean, use it with no renovations, it can be done right now, and it is. So, I mean, it's got offices that can be moved into right now, as it is, you know, without any renovations, without a dollar spent, technically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
To give you a heads up, the ADA compliance, when Director Loin and we look at it, that has not been addressed is the parking lot, because the parking lot is not ADA compliant. So once you start looking at everything, we need to also add that into the cost, because that needs to be addressed. Because that is in the ADA renovation update book that is online.
no good deed goes unpunished, James. Mr. Mayor.
We also have a parking lot project going on right now that y'all have allocated money, that we could put some of that money to make that ADA compliant.
We need a wheelchair ramp up from the parking lot into this end
There is a
door.
wheelchair ramp in front of the building.
Yeah, but that's gonna be closed off here. And so the new entrance is gonna be over here with this parking lot, and there's probably
The back entrance. You talk about just the back door.
yeah, there's gonna be a 3 or 4 foot elevation differential. I think the ratio is 1 to 15, so we need 60 feet of, if it were 4 feet in elevation difference, we would need 60 feet of
So if y'all move
wheelchair.
forward with the space allocation, what I can do is go ahead and start on the parking lot project, based on their intentions, you know, because I think that'll probably go through with the funding. But get the parking lot up to ADA compliance.
Here's the reality situation. Drug court's been in there for over a decade, in this space functioning. So,
Well, actually, that's not true.
all right,
They, have been using Judge Blanton's courtroom, which is
come
On the other end.
the old one in this building. So they
Oh,
have it in there, and then they have recovery court has its offices upstairs. When you come in the side entrance off of Smith, you come in there and you turn to the right, you go up the stairs, and then up in there, that's where recovery court is. Those are their offices.
well, I know there were the offices, I'm talking about recovery court, where they meet.
Well, in his,
General
they've been
Sessions
using,
courtroom.
yeah, they've been using that, and that's why they're gonna take Judge McKee's court, yeah, her, courtroom, that's
Yeah, that's,
not,
Keys is this one here.
yeah, they use this one over here.
Okay, gotcha, okay, correct, thank you, clarifying.
I make a motion that we go ahead and allocate that
Space.
section, that space to Recovery Court, for their project. And so,
Just for recovery court,
right,
period. Whether this project gets funded or not, there's nothing precluding them from using the space. We just need to allocate it, so.
so that's fine.
All right, it's a motion by Commissioner Janone, second by Commissioner Kawhi. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
And then if the mayor can look into the handicap ramp on that parking lot over there.
And that'll come, we'll take that straight to the full commission, resolution from Jen Ops, right? Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
That's one back.
And it'll have an attachment with that.
So, item F, we're gonna keep, item F still under old business because it's half of our, yeah, we should discuss that. And item G, have a motion for discussion.
Motion to discuss.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That's moved, second by Commissioner Jones, thank you. So pages 158 and 161, Commissioner Klein asked me to put this on here, so, Commissioner Klein, I want to let you lead this discussion.
Okay. Became aware of a new law that was passed, and I actually had the law director look up, and it does have a number. Other than these numbers. And what this does is it will allow the county to charge $1.50 a square foot instead of the 70 cents on new construction of residential, commercial, and industrial.
Repeat that again.
It'll allow the county to charge $1.50 a square foot on all new construction as a, and I believe it's all school fee. It's a privilege tax, and privilege to build in our county. And you know, when you look at our private act from 1999, the adequate facilities tax, it was 70 cents then, and it's 70 cents today. $1.50 doesn't even get us close to what the inflation has changed.
Well, it's also the 40 cents for commercial and retail. We weren't capturing that for, we lost like $20 million.
Yeah.
Over 20 years ago, we weren't
Right.
capturing the money, so we've started capturing that. But my question is, does this knock out, does this include industrial, commercial, retail,
Yes.
residential, all the above?
The only, I went through it in great detail today, and the only thing that it doesn't go after is what they call an industrial. It's a huge project, like 1,000 acres or something like that.
Well, currently we do have, the adequate facilities tax does cover industrial.
Yeah, and this covers industrial as well, but it doesn't cover industrial that's a huge industrial project.
Like a space park or something.
Yeah, I mean, like 1,000 acres.
You say space park?
Like a space park.
A mega site.
North space park.
Oh, it's the name of it. You say space park, I'm thinking NASA. I mean,
Probably that.
I need stuff for that.
Okay, so it refers to an industrial mega site. Generally consists of a minimum of 1,000 contiguous acres. We're not,
Very rare.
yeah, very rare, and probably not gonna ever happen in Sumner County. I mean, never say never, but,
But can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Could we default back to the 70 cents for that? It would stay current?
you know, there are a few qualifications. We have to prove that that the population has grown 20% or more from the census of 2010 to 2020.
No, I'm saying on that mega, I'm saying
Yeah.
the mega structure, it precludes those things, but does that fall under the original 70 cents like it always has? This new fee wouldn't apply to them, but does the old fee still apply?
In reading it, I don't know that it actually referenced what it would go back to if it wasn't a.
What paragraph is it?
You're locked in for 4 years.
You don't have it because it was backup stuff that I had to print off.
You're locked in for 4 years.
Right, at that rate.
I guess I'm questioning but this is $1.50 across the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's not staggered like commercial at 40 cents versus $1.50 is a lot different.
No, it's $1.50 for everything.
So, are there any other counties that have adopted this, or?
I don't know, it's pretty new. I haven't gone and talked to any other counties. Josh may know. But, I'm just, it's so ridiculous that we're still charging 70 cents after 30 years.
Well, correct. I mean, it's, Mo Taylor called it the inadequate facilities tax because it's wholly inadequate to service the debt that is caused by the residential construction.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. And on average, we bring in $2.8 million a year for this fee. And from 14 to 19, the county borrowed on average $48 million per year for new school construction or new school expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And borrowed $48 million, brought in $2.8 million.
Right.
On that 5-year span, averaged out. And that was 2 property tax increases,
yeah.
All because of residential development. So growth does not pay for itself when it comes to big, residential Ponzi scheme here.
Right.
I guess my only question is that too high for commercial, which does not impact our schools, it does not negatively impact our infrastructure, other than traffic issues?
Well, and that's a good question, and I don't have a good answer if that would deter businesses from coming here to do business, and I don't want to do that.
Well, here's the frustrating part is the reason this exists, if they came up with this, I think this is still, the adequate facilities tax is a crappy solution. I think this is a crappy solution.
I agree.
It's because the Home Builders Association, the Realtors Association, control committee members in the State House, specifically the committee over this, the Governmental Affairs Committee, and this city committee, whatever it's called, I think they're not committees. And they have killed any bills to repeal the 2006 County Powers of Relief Act that precludes and keeps the county from doing any kind of impact fee for school construction and going to lot lots for that educational purpose, and that's the problem. They came up with this.
This is throwing us a bone.
It's not even that. It's like uneatable scraps from the master's table.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's better than 70 cents a square foot, but it's not as flexible as what we have. I mean, sure, you're just over doubling the residential, which is great, but it's too little too late.
Yeah.
Especially cities like Gallatin. I don't know if they're ever going to stop.
But this does, you do have to charge it. I mean, the cities have to charge it too. It talks about specifically.
Well, they do right now.
Yeah.
The county likes to
Yeah.
make it sort of like that.
Yeah.
But again, $2.8 million a year on average with all the growth we've had.
Yeah, this would have gotten.
Almost $50 million a year on average for a 5-year period, 2 tax increases to pay for that growth for the schools.
This would have gotten us $6 million a year. You're right. It's scraps.
It's still scraps. It's still.
I personally.
5 years ago, you could have paid $20 million cash for an elementary school. So
I personally think this would deter residential. I don't think it would deter commercial. Being I've done it all, and you just kind of roll with the punches. But when you talk about industrial or commercial, that's a long-term investment by a developer, and I just don't think, whether it's 40 cents or $1.50, I just don't think it's going to deter them. It might deter residential, but you know, I'm good with that because frankly, we need businesses here a whole lot more than we need residential development. If we're sending 50,000 people outside the county every day to go to work.
Commissioner Jim?
Would the commercial portion of this be negotiable for any new incoming businesses coming into the county? Could,
This is
I know the
state
state
law.
does it all the time.
This is state law.
No, but the state does, tax breaks all the time. I don't know if they could.
Well, the pilot program's a different thing. You know, what a pilot program is, it's pay in lieu of taxes. And I don't know if it works with commercial. I think it works only with industrial. And what happens is Facebook bought all that acreage, and then they quitclaimed it to the Gallatin Industrial Board. And so they don't have to pay property taxes. And neither does the Industrial Board because they're a government organization.
But they sold to the county as we're gonna get all this tax revenue.
But they do have to pay something, but I have no idea what it is. Maybe the mayor knows. Don't know.
It's a vape station.
So,
Bad deal with the tax.
yeah, pilot program's terrible for the taxpayers. You know, we get it, we get it in the
I'm
short
just trying
term.
to think of your worry about, you know, it turning away commercial. I don't know that it would. The consumers can pay it again anyway, so, it's a good location, it's a good location, we'll figure out a way to.
Yeah, well, and that's why I don't think it'll deter commercial or industrial, because a good location's a good location, and $1.50 a square foot when your construction costs are $150 to $300, depending on what you're building. It's not much. It's not much, and it's not much to a commercial or industrial endeavor that says, hey, you know, we're here for the long term. We're going to charge rent, and that's just the way it
So
works.
you're making a motion tonight?
Well, I don't know if you know, since this is so new to all of us, I didn't know if we'd want to wait so that we could study it, because this is brand new to you.
I guess I would like to read the final. And Mr. Siller, what did you pass? This is a lot of different codes.
I just tried to pull the actual statutes as they read, and if you go through this,
Which one was actually passed?
these were just amendments to these statutes, is what this ended up being. This is a bill, and the purpose of the bill was to amend the statutes that I provided. And those statutes have the new language in them now.
All of these.
Yes, those are all different statutes, if you'll read the numbering.
And yeah, definitely, that's why I was.
But I did those in order of what you see on what was part of
So
the
each of these,
agenda.
all of these are statutes are being,
That's right.
in those 2 pages there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I got it. Yeah, I don't want to read it to you.
Yeah, I would advise that, because this is a big move. So I think we need to study it individually and then come back. So my motion would be to defer any action on it until next month.
We'll just keep on our business.
Okay.
We don't need a motion for that.
Do we have any estimate on how much that would add to the revenue?
No, we have to get with you.
We'd have to get with planning. They could tell us. Yeah, planning could probably tell us how many square feet.
Such a thought.
Yes, we would plan that, information companies.
Yeah, I gotta get together with Marshall about a few things anyway, so.
Can you also get together with John
Would-
and ask him to work up an estimate?
Would John be the guy to talk to?
That's what I'm asking.
About
What are you looking for?
looking for square footage
calculation.
calculations year after year so we could figure out.
Future growth, he won't have those numbers.
But he has the past ones, right?
No, but you can say whatever. That's true.
Yeah, you can look at all the parcels that we have, figure out what's been built in the past 5 years, and do the math on it. And you're gonna-
Yeah, 'cause he-
apply the 70 cents versus the $1.50.
Yeah, Josh would know what's in the county, but he wouldn't know in the city, so John would be the guy to talk to.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put a note for Klein.
He lives in the city too, right?
Yeah, and that's why John would have all the parcels in the cities. Josh only knows what we've built in.
Josh would would only have to county.
Yeah,
John was
right.
got some-
Yeah, I'll try to create a graph over the last few years. And maybe we can speculate on what new developments would be.
All right, motion adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.